G'day and welcome back to part 9 of the Fantasy Grounds tutorial sessions on creating an extension for MoreCore. I'm Damned from the Fantasy Grounds forums, and today we're going to continue working on the NPC sheets. So today we're going to look at saving throws. In the basic expert system we have quite a few different saves. There's 5 different saves for different types of activities, and they each have different values, and the values change for each class and as you go up in levels. So to start with, we're just going to create 2 additional fields on the character sheet so we can store that detail. We're going to store the death poison saves and the rod, staff, wand saves. So you can see the label column, label column, and number column for those 2 fields respectively. Next thing we're going to do is, these are based on the class and level for characters. For NPCs, they're based on the number of hit dice. You remember in our last tutorial where we used the number of hit dice to work out the armor class 0 value. Well, it's the same for the saves. So we're going to use that same function. The on value changed on the hit dice field, and this time we're going to declare the level as we're going to store the level from the hit dice as string HD, SHD. We're going to convert that to a number, NHD, and we're going to then pass that value along with the actor, the rActor value, into the set NPC save script, which is labeled NPC Manager. We go and have a look at the extension.xml. You can see that I've included a new file. This one's called scripts data common dbd. The dbd just stands for Damned Basic Dungeon. This is a new file. We haven't looked at one of these before. In this file, basically on initialization, and because it's stored in the extension.xml, it's going to be initialized at load. We've stored the fighter saving throws, and you can see here fighter saves for level 0, fighter saves for level 1, level 2, right up to level 20, and these saves are what NPCs use. They use the fighter's saving throw levels. I've modified them slightly from the BX standard. The BX standard, basically, they only improve every 3rd level, so they improve at level 1, and they improve again at level 4, and then level 7, level 10. So I've reduced the improvement. I've leveled it out a little bit so it improves every 2 levels, but instead of improving roughly by 2 each time, it improves by 1 at those levels. Just a small tweak. The values in here are for the values above, so for death/poison, then for wands, rods, staves, second value, the 3rd value for paralysis or stone gaze, the 4th value for breath weapons, and the last value for save versus spells. We then create our function called setNPCSave, and it's receiving the values rActor, which is the current actor and all the values associated with that, and the number of hit dice. We've got a debug statement there just to declare it so I can see what's happening. And then we're setting a new local variable called ssave, and it's going to look up from the data common dbd a field, or the a warrior saves based on the number of hit dice. Now you might notice this is a warrior saves, and in the previous screen it was fighter saves. I changed these part way through from some code I borrowed from another rule set, and we'll actually see an error coming up in one of the next screens. So anyway, in here we do a set value. So we're going to set the value of that actor .save.death. It's a number that we're using, and it's going to be save value 1. That's the value in square brackets, and that's the first value being returned in that array from the previous screen. So that each of those arrays contains 5 values, and you can see here we're pulling out the 5 values and we're saving them under save death, save rod, save paralysis, save breath, and save spell. When I load this up, you can see here that this is a 2 hit dice monster, and you can see the value there for wand, rod, staff saves of 16. You can't quite read the other one, the death, poison saves, because it's overwritten by the length of my name. So we're going to have to change those a little bit, make them a lot shorter so they actually fit. You can see here we've changed it down to just death saves and wand saves. This is in our strings DBD file, and that should fit properly. You can just see squeezing out the left side of the screen here, you can see the death saves. However, we've also got this error, attempt to index field A warrior saves. I left this in so you can see it's really quite common to make it change one thing, you break something else. Just read the error messages. You can see it says there the file error is in common scripts NPC more on line 24. Attempt to index field A warrior saves a nil value. So it didn't get a value back when it queried for A warrior saves, and the reason for that is that it's actually A fighter saves. So I have to update my code to call A fighter saves, and we then get the correct values. The next thing I wanted to do was I actually want all 5 values there on the character sheet, on the NPC sheet, and I don't want them to be such big boxes. They don't need to be such big boxes. So creating some labels first, the word saves, and then the 5 types of just abbreviated down to death, wand, para, breath, and spell. And you'll see why we've gone for the shorter abbreviations again to for how we're going to display them on the sheet eventually. Then back onto the record NPC sheet, I've added a divider line, called it divider 2. I've added in a label, called saves label, and it's using the label saves, which is just going to display the word saves. And then got a new template called number NPC score. We'll have a look at that in a minute. And another one called label NPC score. So I've inserted 5 of these, and they with the associated values. So the first one is for our death saves. So we're going to call it save.death, and we're going to store it, which is the source value, in save.death. And you can see that the labels and the numbers are in pairs, and they're anchored to each other. And there's 5 sets of these going down. And on this next screen, I've added the definitions for those new templates. So for the label ability score, the label NPC score, and the number NPC score. Now, we didn't see 3 different new templates in that previous screen. There was only 2, but one of these templates, the template label NPC score, actually uses the previous template label ability score. So that's why there's 3 templates in here. There's also a new frame that was defined in here, and you can see that, and it's called frame name equals ability score. So we've defined that now in graphics frames, and that's just a small frame to hold the text that's going to sit above the number field, so you can see what saving throw it's being referred to there. When we reload it again, we can see now in the middle of the screen we've got the divider line, and then saves, and we've got death saves, wand saves, paralysis saves, breath saves, and spell saves, and they're all visible there. And if we change the number of hit dice on this monster, then those values will automatically update alongside the to hit armor class 0 value. I also removed 2 additional fields from the sheet, the fields that we weren't really going to use in this incarnation. So I removed roles and special. I've left equipment and languages, and of course I've left attacks, which take the attack strings if we choose to use those. Next bit is where our roles magic comes back in. Now we could roll these, we could configure the save fields, the 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 fields to be clickable and rollable, but we want to leverage as much of the MoreCore infrastructure as we can, and also demonstrate the power of the new parameter roles feature. So creating a new role, and the CT roles field. I'm using the CT roles section to do that because these will appear on the combat tracker. Now, I'm creating a new one. I'm calling it death save. I'm using the sthrow string, so sthrow 1d20, trying to get greater than 12. I'm enabling the formula. I'm hiding parameters P1, P2, P3, and then I'm dragging the death saves value. It's currently a 12 on this sheet. I'm dragging that value into ref field A, and when I do that, you can see the text is changed from drag field or roll here to save.def. A is available. So I go back to my parameter formula and I replace the 12 with brackets A, and that will link it from here on in to the death field on this character sheet. And that way, when the hit dice value changes, to hit armor class 0 will change automatically, and the death save and wand and paralysis and breath and spell saves will all change automatically, and so will the CT roles or any other roles that have those fields dragged into them. So now when we change the hit dice field, we're eventually going to have 10, 11 other fields that will automatically change when that happens. That's a really nice piece of automation, and it's really simple. You can see from all these examples that we've just done here that we take these things in small manageable bite chunks, and then using the power of the roles and the parameter roles, we can really start to make some magic happen on these character sheets. And you can see here I've just thrown a few rolls, and then I've adjusted the hit dice from 2d8. I've bumped them up to the Knoll Chieftain and his bodyguards with 6d8 plus 4, and when I've done that, the increase from 2 hit dice to 6 hit dice has improved all of those rolls. So previously they were 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. They've improved now to 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So the Knoll is far more resistant to each of those types of attacks now. When I drag the Knoll into the combat tracker and activate rolls by clicking on the dice icon for that actor, you can see the death save now appears in there, and along with the shield button icon, which is clickable for you to actually make your saving throws. So when I click those, the Knoll will roll his death save, and you can see I've got a couple of successes and a couple of failures in that list. So that was the final part of editing the NPC sheets, at least for now, and we're going to go back and do some more work on the character sheet in the next tutorial video. Hope you've been following along. I hope you've also been doing some coding as you go along, and once again I hope to see some extensions coming from you guys as you start to get more comfortable with this process. And I look forward to seeing you again on the next tutorial. Thank you.